Now let us study in detail about the photosynthetic autotrophs. What are photosynthetic autotrophs? Photosynthetic autotrophs are those living organisms which can prepare their own food with the help of chlorophyll. And chlorophyll A is the pigment which is present in these living organisms. And the examples for this photosynthetic autotroph is cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria is an example for this photosynthetic autotrophs. For example, the nostoc, anabina, all these are the cyanobacteria. Now, let us study what is this structure of this cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria, it can be unicellular, single celled, it can be colonial in nature, or it can be filamentous in nature, and it can make its own food on its own. So you can find lots of chlorophyll pigments here present. As I said, so it can make its own food like this. So these are all the chlorophyll pigments which is present on its surface. And the cyanobacteria lives in the water sometimes. So even it can be even terrestrial in nature, even it can find them even in the water also. Okay, and if they are living in the water or in any other terrestrial surfaces, it will have a covering, and this covering is called as mucilaginous sheath. So there is a covering. This covering is nothing but a layer of protection which will protect the cells from getting ruptured or from any sort of damage. Okay, so this is called as mucilaginous sheath. And apart from this, it has got one specialized cell. So somewhere here you can find one specialized cell, and this specialized cell is called as heterocyst. Now what is a heterocyst? Heterocyst is a specialized cell which you can find it in a cyanobacteria, and this specialized cell help to fix the atmospheric nitrogen. So the nitrogen fixation is done by the help of this heterocyst. So the atmospheric nitrogen which is present, it captures those nitrogen molecules and it converts them into various form of nitrogen which is needed for their development. Okay, so this is called as nitrogen fixation, and it is done with the help of a specialized cell called heterocyst which is present in between any of this cell. So this is how a cyanobacteria looks like, and this cyanobacteria is a photosynthetic autotroph which can prepare its own food with the help of chlorophyll. So the next one is the chemosynthetic autotrophs. Chemosynthetic autotrophs means the living organisms which are able to produce its own food by breaking down the inorganic compounds. So the inorganic compounds such as nitrites, nitrates, ammonia. So when these inorganic compounds are broken down, ATP is produced, and this ATP is used as a source of energy. And when they are using all this nitrates, nitrogen and the ammonia, it is also helping to recycle these molecules in an environment. So nitrogen, phosphorus, all these are recycled in an environment with the help of this bacteria. And now the examples for the chemosynthetic autotrophs are nitrogen bacteria, sulfur bacteria and methanobacteria. The next one is the heterotrophic bacteria. Heterotrophic bacteria is found everywhere and they are also an important decomposers. Decomposers means the living organisms or the bacteria which decomposes the organic matter. So they play a very important role in the form of decomposers also. And this heterotrophic bacteria, it is of many use. First of all, it is used to convert the milk into curd. It is also present in the roots of the legume plants in order to fix the nitrogen. What do you mean by legume plants? Legume plants are, for example, the bee plant, the bean, the peas, the groundnut. All these are called as legume plants. So, inside the root of the legume plants, you can find this bacteria, and this bacteria is going to help to fix the atmospheric nitrogen. So, heterotrophic bacteria is present in all this region. And heterotrophic bacteria sometimes also act as a pathogen. It can cause various diseases in the human body. For example, cholera, typhoid. So, all these diseases are caused by the bacteria. Reproduction in bacteria. So, how does the bacteria reproduce? Reproduction are of three different types. The first one is an asexual reproduction, and that is called as fission. So, in case of binary fission or the fission, the parental cell is divided into two identical daughter cells, and it contains all the genetic material present exactly like that of its parental type, and this is called as fission. So, this is one type of asexual reproduction. You can find it in bacteria. The second one is the spore formation. So, under any sort of unfavorable condition, the bacteria reproduces and it produces in the form of spores. So, and this spores is viable and it remains dormant and it can tolerate any sort of unfavorable environmental conditions. And the third type of reproduction is the sexual reproduction, that is called as conjugation. In case of this conjugation, two bacteria, they come close together and then they exchange their genetic material, that is the DNA. So, with the help of a small structure which is called as pilus, they exchange this genetic material between these two bacteria, and this is called as the sexual reproduction and it is called as conjugation. Okay. So, these are the three different forms of types of reproduction in case of bacteria. So the next one is the Mycoplasma. Mycoplasma is also a bacteria, but a unique feature of this Mycoplasma is it does not have a cell wall. It is highly microscopic in nature. It is extremely small and it does not have a cell wall, and it is anaerobic in nature. Anaerobic means it does not need the oxygen for its survival. And this Mycoplasma is highly pathogenic in nature. Mycoplasma are highly pathogenic in nature. It can cause a severe diseases in case of human beings like Mycobacterium pneumoniae. It is a main causative agent for the pneumonia. And since this Mycoplasma does not have a cell wall, the shape of its body can change in any time because there is no rigid cell wall around it. And this feature of this living organisms where it can change its shape into various types is called as pleomorphy or pleomorphic nature. So you call them to be pleomorphic. Pleomorphic means this living organism, this bacteria is able to change its shape because of the absence of the cell wall. And this Mycoplasma has got DNA double stranded as its genetic material. So you can find a double stranded DNA as its genetic material, and it is highly pathogenic in nature. So now let's study about the second kingdom, and the second kingdom is kingdom Protista. Now the main difference between the kingdom Monera and the kingdom Protista is kingdom Monera was prokaryotic in nature, whereas kingdom Protista is eukaryotic in nature. So kingdom Protista is unicellular eukaryote. What does it mean? It means to say it is a single cell living organism only, but all the cell organelles are present in this. So earlier when we had studied about the prokaryote, I had mentioned that it is unicellular in nature, but it does not have any sort of cell organelles like nucleus, nuclear membrane, endoplasmic reticulum. But in case of Protista, it is called as unicellular eukaryote. Unicellular means obviously it is single celled, and it also has the feature of a eukaryote, like it has got all the cell membranes like nucleus is present, endoplasmic reticulum is present, Golgi apparatus and the other important structures are also present. Therefore, kingdom Protista is called as unicellular eukaryote. And the second important feature is the Protista has got either the flagella or the cilia in them. So it indicates that it is motile in nature. It will have either the cilia, the flagella, other structure as a locomotory organ. The next important characteristic feature is Protistas are aquatic in nature. So they are aquatic in nature. They live in marine or in the fresh water. The next important feature is with respect to the reproduction. So they can reproduce asexually or they can reproduce sexually with the help of forming the zygote with the help of sperm and ova. Then what and all comes under kingdom Protista? Chrysophytes, you can find euglenoids, slime molds, protozoans, dinoflagellates, all these are included under the kingdom Protista. Now let us study one by one. First, let's study about chrysophytes. The next one is the Chrysophytes. Chrysophytes comes under kingdom Protista, and the Chrysophytes are present in a marine environment. It can be even in the seas or oceans or even in the fresh water. And these Chrysophytes are microscopic in nature, and they flow or they can move easily in the water, and they flow passively. Passively means to say they don't have to spend their energy. As the water moves gradually, they also keep on moving along with the water. So, these so-called Chrysophytes are extremely microscopic in nature, and they are the chief producers in the oceans. Producers means to say they synthesize their own food. So, this Chrysophytes has got the chlorophyll in them, and thereby they are able to make their own food. And in the process of doing this, they release the oxygen. So 20% of the oxygen which is released into the atmosphere comes from this ocean, and especially with the help of these Chrysophytes, since they are photosynthetic in nature. The examples for the Chrysophytes are diatoms and golden algae. So, diatoms and golden algae, or you can even call them as desmids. So, diatoms and golden algae, they are the examples for the Chrysophytes. So, now what are diatoms? Diatoms, they have the silica cell wall. So, the cell wall or the covering of the diatoms is made up of silica, and as you all know, silica is very hard. It gives a very hard structure for the cell wall, and it does not degrade or decompose very easily. As a result of which, the shells of this cell wall, it remains underneath the ocean for many years, and it gets gradually accumulated, and therefore you are calling this as diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth means all the fossilized cell wall of this diatoms, it does not get degraded, as a result of which it keeps on heaping up in the ocean. Since the degradation is very slow, it keeps on accumulating in the bottom of the ocean, and therefore they have given the name as diatomaceous earth. Now, how does the cell wall of this diatoms look like? It just overlap on one upon each other, just like a soap box. So, the cell wall is, you can open it and it can close it, it can open and it can close. So, this is how the cell wall of the diatoms look like. Now, let us study more about diatoms. What are diatoms? So, as you know, diatoms belongs to kingdom Protista. Diatoms has got two overlapping shells. So, these two overlapping shells, it contains the most important mineral, that is called as silica. So, silica is present in the shell of the diatoms. And how are these shells present? They are overlapping upon each other, and it just fits like a soap box. And as you already know that this silica component, it is very tough to get degraded or decomposed. As a result of which, this cell wall or the shell, it tends to remain as such, and it keeps on accumulating in the floor of the ocean. And as it keeps on accumulated, over the years and years together, it has become a sort of fossilized, and therefore it is called as diatomaceous earth. You are calling it as diatomaceous earth. Diatoms are called as diatomaceous earth. And what are the uses of this diatoms? Diatoms are used for polishing, and it is also used for filtration of the syrup such as maple syrup. So once you put this diatom shells into this processing of the syrup, this diatom shell, it will absorb all the extra minerals present in the syrup, and it will give that particular consistency for the syrup. And this is the use of diatomaceous earth, which belongs to the kingdom Protista. The next one is the Dinoflagellate. Dinoflagellate is an example for other living organisms which belongs to kingdom Protista. So what is Dinoflagellate? Dinoflagellates are marine organisms. As I said before, mostly all the living organisms which comes under kingdom Protista are aquatic in nature. So these dinoflagellates are exclusively marine in nature. Marine means it lives in seas and oceans. And this dinoflagellates has got pigments in their body, as a result of which they will be of different color. The pigment can be red color, it can be blue color, it can be yellow color, or it can be even brown or blue color. And this dinoflagellates has got the flagella. And one flagella is located transversely, and the other flagella is located in a longitudinal way. So one flagella is located transversely and another flagella is located in a very longitudinal way. And the entire body is covered by the cellulosic plates. Let's consider an example of red dinoflagellates. Red dinoflagellates, if you observe, the name indicates that this dinoflagellate is reddish in color because of the presence of its pigment. And because of the rapid multiplication of this red dinoflagellates, the sea or the ocean at one point of time, it tend to be reddish in color at a particular region where these dinoflagellates are breeding. So as a result of which the entire portion appears to be red. But if this population of this red dinoflagellates increase and multiplies like this rapidly, it is also harmful for the other living organisms which is present in the sea.